that hasn't been declassified, which is such silliness, or maybe not, because supposedly the series on TV that was #1, I guess, for a year or two, Stranger Things, supposedly has a lot of stories that I have shared with my family and friends. I have not seen a single episode, but the point of the matter is I have been involved in very unusual things, and through many techniques, which included torture and lack of food and killing of my favorite pets, etc., I got thrown into the other dimensions and then given instructions and trained. Plus, I worked with shamans, etc., lived in Tibet for a year. But I'm here, and I noticed this week that I'm doing an awful lot of chats and emphasis on money, prosperity, business. I am not addicted to money. It is not what moves me. It's important. And as I tell my followers, especially as a psychic, if I don't earn a good income, I'm just proving to other people that it's really not a profession. It's really, you can only live on it if you are a little bit shady. That is not true. So I'm here today, one day before a hurricane is going to touch land, supposedly in Florida. And so I decided, why don't we talk about the effects of catastrophes on your business? And then I'm going to start with a very cute story. But it wasn't so cute when it happened. I was working with a company, and it was here in Miami, and there had just been a hurricane, and everybody had electricity except they didn't. And they couldn't get it. They didn't get it. Why didn't they have electricity? And so I said, do you want me to check? And they went, well, yeah, why not? I mean, I'm on retainer, so one more question won't cost them anything. And what I found was that they had within their staff somebody who did black magic. And that person did not particularly want to come back to work. They wanted to have an excuse not to come back to work to the family that they just didn't want to go to work. They needed an excuse. So they did black magic. And that particular business did not have electricity. And everybody thought it was very weird because everybody else around there had electricity. So natural catastrophes, there's a link there, this story, but there's also a link to something that I'm getting more comfortable talking about in English to a mainly Anglo crowd, even though right now it would certainly appear that it's only my followers that speak Spanish that are following me here, but that will change as we share more and Anglos become more comfortable with the other dimensions. Yes, Anglos are uncomfortable with the other dimensions. They want everything that's there to be very spiritual, which in their mind means good. Spiritual means of spirit. All bad spirits are spiritual. So there's a lot that needs to be ironed out before Anglo populations in this part of the world become totally operational in the other dimensions. And that will include a vast augmentation of black magic, which is a shame, but it's part of the package. I have learned more about magic and the creating of reality by clearing my clients, friends, and family and black magic than any other place. I learned more about creating reality doing that than the year I lived in Tibet. I learned other things that were maybe more important, but in terms of creation of reality, nothing can match it than knowing what it is that people that really, really know about the mind and the creation of reality, what it is that they can do to change something to their favor or at least detrimental to you. So let's go on in terms of black magic, not really, excuse me, in terms of natural catastrophes. You can, and I asked the dolphins again yesterday because this hurricane has me rather concerned. And when we, as a group, the Mantrista group, checked on it yesterday, we had every reason to be concerned. There is something in the area that it appeared until yesterday, I don't know if that's the case today, hurricane was going to touch and land the central part of Florida, that was hit by two other earth hurricanes. One was a couple years ago, massive disaster, completely wiped out a town, a historic town, and a lot of other things. So that was two others then, and then now again. Generally, the hurricanes, if I'm not incorrect, they usually enter in through South Florida, the East Coast. Miami gets hit. Not now. Central Florida, Tampa area. Central Florida is very interesting. And as I said yesterday, when I said it, I said, I hope lightning doesn't strike. Maybe I'm sure I'm not supposed to say this. So I guess the question is, how bad is it if I say it? I don't think it's very bad. Central Florida is a magical place. Central Florida is a huge portal. That's why the space shuttles are there. They use that portal. Do they know that? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The problem is that there is, in that area, we're talking business now, there is an injury from way back to Atlantis. Atlantis apparently had a lot of evil. It didn't just have all the light and all the temples, and there was a lot of evil. The main issue was that there was an incredible advance in technology, and the ethics were down here. I'm not using both hands because I'm carrying my dog. We have not had an easy day. My dog is sick. So in Atlantis had a huge issue with evil, and it was probably the reason for the waters that came and washed Atlantis under the waves. And there were also explosions. That area in Central Florida is related to that evil in Atlantis. That doesn't mean Central Florida is evil. No, there is a knot. I thought it was a knot, but what it ended up being, it was the Kundalini snake was coiled, so it ended up looking like a knot in that area. But what I'm going to tell you that's interesting about that is we undid it. But what is it that was keeping that coiled serpent, which we call Kundalini? You have to listen to the chat if you want all the details. It's in Spanish, I'm sorry. Put on the little translation, which are, by the way, not allowed on my channel, but I'm sure that on your channel, you could probably get it to happen. So what we found when we tried to allow this Kundalini snake to rise, why is this important? We now know, but there were two hurricanes that went by there in the last 4 or 5 years, and then another one that's headed that way. Obviously, something there needs to be purified, and then we have to look at those two eclipses. So when we went to try and see why the Kundalini snake was not rising, it was a victim of black magic. Kundalini is an energy that it's called an outpouring. If you look up the theosophy, an outpouring is an energy that God poured into human beings that ended up in the bottom part of their body, maybe the first chakra, my information. And it is, the dolphins told me, it's hard to explain because we don't understand the concept, but I'll explain what they said to me. It's like a highway. God left us like a ladder, but not the chakra ladder, so that when it's time to go back home to God, this snake that is really like a highway ladder, whatever, unravels, goes up, and we return to God. One of those Kundalini snakes, I have a hard time believing it is the Kundalini snake for the whole planet, was coiled up, but it couldn't uncoil because it was the victim of galactic black magic, which had metallic ties. You know those ties when you throw out your garbage? They don't have those anymore. Now they have the pull-up thing. But before, that came with little white pieces of plastic, and then you would tie up the garbage bag. Ties, that kind of ties. But they were metallic. And I always have told my followers, and they know, When you see something metallic with black magic, that means it's a galactic black magic. What does that mean? That means that it was done by spirits from off planet. So spirits from off planet tied up the Kundalini energy of planet Earth, which is the energy that we need to be able to ride this wave of ascension. And I always get her name wrong, the hurricane that is on its way over there was on its way over there to try to get a release, the same as the other two hurricanes, which I do not have the graphics of now, but I'll put them up tomorrow, the next day, on Twitter and on my Facebook. So we did, and I tell everybody, and I'm going to do a post on it, you need to have scissors that cut metal. And anytime you see a wire and it's metallic, that's black magic. That's from beings from off planet. But what I realized is, because I deal with it a lot, when we, like, let's say you have a thyroid issue. You can only have a thyroid issue if the thyroid is throat chakra, communication, and the throat chakra is all about truth. So if you are not truthful, you're going to get sick in your throat, and many people get thyroid issues. How do you get the thyroid issue? Your thyroid just goes, oh, she's a liar, I'm going to get bad. No. You tighten up and you wrap your mind strings around your throat. I'm going to very quickly show you a graphic of the mind streams. There you go. So you get a whole section of those and you wrap them around your throat. Oh dear, I lost myself. There we go. Those are mind strings, and they channel the nectar that is our mind. The mind streams are not our mind. They are channels, and they have 5 fingers at the end. So you take, if you're a liar, you don't want to say the truth because it's not to your advantage, or because it'll offend people, or because you don't want them to know, you take subconsciously, your mind strings react to your intention not to speak the truth, and they wrap around your throat, and they wrap around organs. That is how they keep you from speaking, which is a decision that you made, but something has to stop you. So what I had not realized until I saw the black magic on the Kundalini snake in Central Florida was that those ties that we saw and that we undid with scissors that cut metal, is that that metal are mind strings of galactic beings. They didn't go out and find old garbage bag boxes and bring the little ties and metal ones and put them on whoever it is that you're tying up. That's their mind. That's what's done in black magic. If you see a black magic doll, you usually see string tied around it, which is symbolic of tying up the mind strings of that person. So we were working yesterday with the mind streams of galactic beings that want to stop the planet from evolving. So what does it have to do with business? I need to stay on track. I am on track. But I have a very wide lens, and you should too, especially if you have a big business. And especially if you want to be able to transition nicely into whatever it is that's going on this week, having to do with the process of the planet. It's location, location, location. So why are the space shuttle, and again, I'm waiting for lightning to strike me. Where do the space shuttles leave from? A place where there's a portal, a place whether it was important enough in Atlantis, and it's still important today. So where's your business? I talk about portals. And I don't think I've said this story. I call them stories, but it's what happened when I went to San Francisco and I decided that I wanted to see where Silicon Valley was, not Silicon Valley. I wanted to see where all the major inventions having to do with the computer, where was that? Which they call that area Silicon Valley. And so my friend drove me around. I said, it's downtown San Francisco. And then I said, this is not it. She said, well, this is the old downtown. I said, well, maybe you should take me to the new downtown. And that was where it was. And it turned out that what I said was ground zero. Okay, no lightning, please. Send me a telegram, phone call, no lightning. Ground zero was the place where the internet was invented, which is very weird. It's like a big block with a lot of grass around it, almost like a park. And in the middle of the park, or in the middle of that lot that did have a building on it, it was a teepee. I'm not even going to go into that because that's really top secret. The trick of the matter is that there was a portal there that brings in that brought in the energy that allowed all of those discoveries to be made, the creativity having to do with computers. But when we got there, I said, okay, this is it. I don't know what that TP is. I'm not asking. I said, but it moved. The portal moved from there to another place. Actually, I should probably find out what year, and that would probably be the year when there started to be messes in Silicon Valley because they no longer had the sustaining energy that is what created or pushed or fueled all of those discoveries. And you'll excuse me if I'm struggling with my words. I'm struggling with a tremendous amount of stress, but I have an obligation. It's 6 o'clock Tuesday. I have to be here because I said I would be here, not because somebody's making me be here. So allow me my hesitations that have to do with stress. Okay, so the person I was with wanted me to tell her where the new portal was, and I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't comfortable doing that. Suppose I made a mistake. At this point, I know now, looking back, no, I didn't make a mistake. And I don't generally, I'm pretty good about that. I mean, the training was really severe. I mean, you just don't make mistakes. It could cost, we're not even going to discuss what it could cost. So where is your business? Or is your business in a place that supports it? There was, I don't know if there still is, a portal in New York City that supported the development of the garment industry. So it's not just stuff like technology. And that's all the fashion and the creativity and the busyness and the excitement of there was fueled by a portal. So your business, where is it? Location, location, location. Where is your business? And if it was in a good place, did that goodness go away? Like in San Francisco, the portal moved? Who made that decision for it to move? I have no idea. I didn't check then. I was too confused by the fact that what I said, that's where it all started, was where the internet was invented. And that there was a teepee there. Maybe one of you guys have more guts than I do and find out what a teepee in the middle of a huge piece of property that was all grass, one building in a corner, and a teepee. So what's going on with the land underneath your business? Do you talk to and negotiate with the spirits that are there? Look at the spirit we found, the Kundalini snake. 2 major hurricanes that almost destroyed Central Florida, and then a third one on its way there now. So maybe you need to know what's going on in your place underneath the land. Maybe you need to get out of your comfort zone, widen your lens, and say, I want to have a relationship with the spirits that protect this land, because that's what those spirits are there for. You don't get galactic spirits protecting the land. they're not supposed to. Ethically, not supposed to. If they're there and doing something a little bit pushy, they are obviously not ethical and they're not going to be doing you any favors. So how do you do this? First, you have history. That location has history. What was there before? And I'm not going to go into the whole story about the woman that had an appointment with me and she wanted me to check I don't know what. And I don't know what was going on, but I said to her, listen, you're going to go through a couple of hurricanes, but in the last one, you are going to be left homeless. And she went, wow. She said, I live in a condo, Miami Beach. I said, well, I don't know where you live. That's it. She got back to me about 6 weeks after the last hurricane, and she was left homeless. She lived in a condo. The condo was condemned. Now, that's really unusual. And for that hurricane, it was highly unusual. Not enough had happened. So she wanted me to check why that would happen to her, which basically is why would it happen to the building? And what I got was really shocking and fascinating. And that building originally had been used as a place for sex trafficking. In those years, those words weren't used, for sex trafficking and for prostitution, but bad, really ugly, bad stuff. But the interesting part is coming now. Oh no, in her appointment with me, I said to her, no, now I remember the beginning of it. I was telling people what the spirits of their land had to say to them. So this woman asked, what do my spirits of my land have to say to me? And I said, they're not on your land. They're gone. They're waiting in a park. Why? Don't know. The energy's bad, but I think something's going to happen. You're going to be homeless, whatever. So the reason that the spirits were in a park nearby waiting to see if the land cleared, they're very loyal, was because of the vibration of what went on there decades prior, so that when the hurricane came, there was no protection. So do you have protection? Are you familiar with the spirits of your land? Are they there? Chances are the spirits associated with your piece of property are there. This is the only time I had found that they had gone, which doesn't mean it doesn't happen other times. And what are those spirits? Those spirits, their original name in Tibetan Buddhism is Nagas, Nagas. They're reptiles. They used to be, at one point in history, they were the dinosaurs. And as I always say in feng shui, they are the dragons. There is a dragon associated with your property, and they're kind of a little bit high up, and they're kind of watching over because they're protectors. So the Nagas are the dinosaurs, are the dragons, the plumed serpent from Mexican culture. They are dedicated to human evolution. They know everything. They are the original owners of the land, and they will do anything to protect not the land against you, but to protect you if you are there on the land. They won't do anything to try to get you out of the land. So one of the issues today is that they are reptilians. And society today, because of their lack of information and because their lack of knowledge and because they have a very limited perspective, have identified reptilians as bad. A reptilian, Naga, will do whatever necessary to get things to straighten up, which is where people who are kind of reptilian, what they're doing, they will misbehave in a way that shakes everything up to where there's an opportunity for a new configuration to where things will be the way they're supposed to be. So I'm going to end this now, but I wanted to share with you that your location is very important. Not like, gee, I wish I wasn't in Central Florida right now. If you're in Central Florida and you have a working relationship with the spirits of your land, and they have basically, you have understood that they're very okay with you being there. You have to enlist them to really step up to bat now with this hurricane coming in to protect you and to protect your land. And as the dolphins reminded me again yesterday, we no longer have a collective reality on planet Earth. We have individual realities. So everybody else can fall flat on their faces and your place can remain standing. And in a very natural way, because you had natural protection. And to get that protection, as if you remember when I negotiated with the Nagas for a company, a family-owned company that were in trouble, they needed help, and the Nagas said, okay, we will give them the protection, but they need to move. So I said to them, if you agree to move, you're going to get the protection. And then it was like a miraculous ending. Something happened that just basically took the load off of the family's back, and they were able to make the changes that they wanted, and it was like a miracle. And the Nagas were responsible for that. So widen your lens. It's wonderful to believe in angels. It's wonderful to believe in Anubis and Osiris. I'm working with them increasingly. But right now, with everything that's going on the planet, you need to be able to work with the spirits that are associated with the ground, with the earth. Many years ago, after I started my therapy and I started to have all the memories, and I didn't recognize Buddhism when I went to classes or people talked, or what I read in books. I said, I lived in Tibet a year. I worked with monks, mainly a shaman, but I did work with monks. I don't remember all this stuff. Very much, love and don't be angry and, just calm the mind. And I don't remember any of that. And then I got a book. I wish I remembered the author, but he wrote a book on art on female Buddhas. And in the first chapter, he said it all to me. He said two things, but I'll tell you the one that applies to this particular podcast. He said, there are souls, beings, higher beings that are up there, and they send down to the planet aspects of themselves. So you can be an aspect of different beings throughout history, such as Anubis. Or you can be Julius Caesar, whatever. I have no idea. Now I'm not. So you need to widen your lens, having to do with the spirit world and having to do with the spirits of the land, which are not generally talked about, because when they talk about in the West and the people going there and trying to figure out where to live, and then they discuss the fact that the Indians do a ceremony and they ask for permission to live on that piece of land. The thought is that those spirits are going to give them permission to live there. But what's actually happening is that the spirits are getting asked, is this a good place for us to live? So when the spirits go, no, it's because it's not good for the humans, not because they're being selfish or they're trying to protect it for a national park 50 years from now. No, they are looking at the person that wanted to settle there. Did you do that when you moved into your property? No, you didn't, because you didn't know. I have not worked enough with the spirits of the land. I'm just remembering now. But we need to do it increasingly because the earth has become very unstable. But, as the dolphin said, everything else can be collapsing and you can be fine. Stack the deck in your favor. Make sure that the other dimensional stuff is taken care of. And we will be here every Tuesday at 6 and continue to share. And thank you for listening.